reduction in their personal income tax rates.
So is that like about $100 for an average Ohio?
It would vary. It depends on what your burden is. If you're paying $1,000 in tax, it's going to be $50. If you're paying $2,000, it's going to be $100.
But when it went down 4.2%, it was about $80, I think. So we're in the $100 range on the average. Is that right?
I would have to. I've not seen the numbers.
Well, you know, I mean, the other thing is we're speculating here on how big it could be. Now, we just saw yesterday $900 million worth of investment. Wham! I don't even know if you covered it. A $900 million commitment by Chesapeake. There's gold in them Dar hills, okay? How much gold there is, we're not sure. But as we extract that, we get a twofer. We get the people who are working in the industry directly and those connected, which produces revenues through the taxes they pay. Plus, we're able to get, you know, a reasonable and fair and competitive amount from modernizing a tax that has been, you know, it's 40 years old and doesn't even include some of the most valuable things they're going to pull out of the ground. And at the same time, people are also going to pay less on the taxes that they earn if they work in the industry. And if they don't work in the industry, every year they get to look forward to a bonus. It gets to be a family bonus every single year, and depending on how much, this could last for many, many years as to you know, what this is cumulatively going to mean for a family. I think they'd be very excited about it. But most important, we then become a lot more competitive. As these rates come down, you know, as this rate comes down and people anticipate lower rates, it means Ohio's business climate improves. And as Ohio's business climate improves, we get more jobs. Kansas is reducing income taxes. Oklahoma, all the states are trying to figure out a way to push down their income tax. Now, some people in the legislature will say there's another way to do this, to reduce the income tax. And I say, okay, tell me what those ways are, because we proposed a number of savings inside of our budget that were rejected. And somebody will say, well, loopholes. Okay, well, that means that somebody that currently has been exempted from taxation will not be any longer. That's broad tax reform. But you know, this is sort of this is an easier way to get there, to lower that income tax, because this is sharing the wealth with Ohioans rather than investors who live somewhere other than in Ohio, and still allows the industry to be successful. It's a really interesting proposal, and you know, like I say, we're just going to fight for it until we get it, and ultimately it's going to happen. It just ought to happen sooner, so we don't get into squabbles that they have in places like Pennsylvania with the uncertainty that accompanies the squabbles that just is not good. Any other questions here?
Can someone from taxation explain this upfront $25,000 per well fee? I'm trying to understand how that works. And
that's the ad valorem.
Yeah.
So
that's how it gets paid back. Yes, $25,000. Where did the question come from? It was behind me. Okay, $25,000 per well is paid at the beginning of construction. It goes to the local, to the county. Basically, it gets distributed. It's a model we put into the bill. But the local budget commission would have the authority to be able to divide it up differently if they felt it was needed differently in the local community. That is an upfront money. Basically, it's like a no-interest loan. It'll be paid back over a long period of time based on the amount of production that comes out of the ground. That's what ties back to real estate. Real estate taxes that are acquired by the local jurisdiction from the increased production over the course of a number of years.
It's prepaid taxes.
It's basically paying it up front, and they'll get it back over a long period of time based on production.
And let me be clear about this whole situation. You call North Dakota and you ask them about what happened once this industry started going. You see, I compare it to a guy who plays in college, he's All-American in college, and he goes out for the first pro game, and he's up in Cleveland, and he catches the ball, and he's a wide receiver, first-round draft pick. And when the defensive player hits him, he knocks him, he finds himself sitting halfway up into the stadium. The level of, if what has happened in other states happens here, the number of rigs, the number of activity is going to potentially overwhelm people. You know, how many trucks are connected? How much?
100.
To each well.
Yep.
There are hundreds of trucks, connected to the development of each single well. North Dakota right now, my understanding is they've got 200 wells operating. Think about that. So this idea of advancing, prepaying taxes and being able to get a credit against what's called their ad valorem tax allows us again to be prepared for what's coming. But as much as we prepare, we're still never going to be quite ready because the volume and the level of activity, if all this pans out to be true, and we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but if it pans out to be true, can be overwhelming. But all to the good if managed appropriately. Yes, sir.
Governor, your local government pays